Summer's here, which means it's barbecue season. That lovely, slightly charred fat with some burnt flavors on any meat is incredible. But if you're like me who lives indoor and does not have outdoor space at all, I have you covered. Today, we're making my indoor version of honey and soy marinated barbecue chicken. Let's do it. First and foremost, we make the marinade for our chicken thighs. For this recipe, I will only use chicken thighs just because they're way more forgiving. To our mixing bowl, we add a very generous amount of honey, about 1 teaspoon per thigh, and light soy sauce. About a 2-to-1 ratio, as in 2 parts soy sauce, 1 part honey. And this would give you perfect savory and sweet balance. If time permits, you can do this in a saucepan and cook out the soy sauce slightly. Let it cool down. That will remove some of the harshness of the soy sauce as well. Now, we add some salt, about 0.6% to the chicken's weight, if you want to be precise. The reason why we're adding salt as well as the soy sauce is, the soy sauce burn much easier if we only rely on the soy sauce to season the chicken. Factoring in the fact that we're already using honey, it's very difficult to brown the chicken without burning it. Perfect. Once that's all done, we add our chicken thighs. Today I'm using boneless but skin-on chicken thighs, which for me is perfect for this recipe because you have more control over the shape of the chicken when they're in the oven, and you'll see why very shortly. Now, for the most optimal result, this will then go into the fridge to marinate for at least 6 hours, ideally overnight, so that the salt would have time to fully penetrate the flesh, seasoning them evenly, but more importantly, to break down the protein fibers into smaller amino acid strands, making them juicier and more tender. But if you want to cook straight away, it'll also be extremely tasty, which is exactly what we're going to do today. So, let's introduce our secret weapon. And it's not the tin foil, but here we have some smoked streaky bacon. I'm using streaky bacon for this recipe just because it's the cheapest available option, but you can use any smoked bacon. What we want to do is that we want the bacon to give us the smokiness. And I've tried this many times with different recipes. Of course, the moment you start using a smoke gun or actually smoking it on the stove, it works. But to have to deal with indoor smoking, for me, it's way too much hassle. With the bacon, the smokiness is mild enough that when you cook it, you're not gonna smell it at all. But it has enough smokiness on the surface that through the slow cooking process, the smokiness will be imparted on the surface of the chicken. And that's definitely strong enough to be detected on the palate and good enough to resemble a proper barbecue chicken. We introduce the chicken and you'll see the reason why I prefer boneless, so that I could manipulate the shape to maximize the surface area that is in contact with the bacon. And like I said before, the surface, it's what's going to get that wonderful smokiness. We very carefully try to wrap this as tight as possible to maximize the surface contact. Now we have a second layer. Now, this whole thing goes into a preheated oven at 150 for an hour. The objective of the exercise are twofold. One, like we said before, for the smokiness from the bacon to be imparted on the chicken. But two, we want to give the thighs enough time to break down the tough connective tissues into collagen. That's what's going to give us that gelatinized juiciness that you associate with well-cooked chicken thighs. And because chicken thighs are by definition very forgiving, I don't even mind overcooking it slightly. So, I'll see you in 1 hour. Alright, after an hour, chicken comes out. And while we inspect the chicken, we crank up the heat to 220. Now, this is gonna be very hot, so be a bit careful with the hot steam that will come out. We remove the bacon, and they'll be perfect for breakfast tomorrow. And with the bacon, while they're still hot and bendy, put them between 2 baking sheets, pop it in the fridge, and tomorrow morning, you'll have the tastiest soy and honey glazed bacon for breakfast. And because we cooked it at such a gentle heat, the pork fat never properly sizzled. So we're not imparting any unnecessary porky goodness on the chicken. So the chicken will still taste chickeny. Now, we switch to another tray that's lined with tin foil, and we simply transfer our chicken thighs. I would happily reduce this and serve it with the bacon, but not the chicken, because this would overpower the chicken. Now, we gently pat this to remove some excess moisture, but you don't want to go too hard because you don't want to remove the soy and honey glaze. If you're making a small portion, you can finish it on the stove with a bit more control, but today, this goes into our preheated oven for about 10 minutes until they're golden, not burnt, so moderate. Alright, after about 10 minutes, chicken comes out. How beautiful is that? You're not going to get crispy skin with a recipe like this, but the beautiful caramelization on the skin, helped by the sugar content of the soy sauce, the honey, and the smell is incredible. All we need to do is to give them about 10 minutes to rest so that their protein fiber would have time to relax and we can carve and serve. Alright, after almost 10 minutes, and let's face it, who has the patience when it smells that good? Let's carve and plate. Still really hot, but look at how moist and juicy this is. Oh yeah. And to go with that, a nice wedge of lime and a bit of shichime just on the side. And that's it. Indoor chicken thighs do not get smokier and tastier than this. This is my barbecue chicken thighs with the honey and soy sauce glaze. I really hope you enjoy. Beautiful.